Keys in another room. Grab them so we can get the hell out of here.
Still not sure about leaving him like this.
He came through with the truck just like we asked. Even greased his partner to make it look good. If you got doubts, why take the chance?
What the fuck? Now, just so you guys know, I wanted to like this game. I really did. I was even willing to give them a little bit of a pass on the initial 30 FPS lock they had on the PC version of the game because they were very quick to release a patch to uncap it. I was even willing to be kind to it because of how much people loved Mafia 2, even though that it was 6 years ago when that came out. But this, I'm sorry, every little piece of leeway that the game could have potentially garnered got washed away by the buggy, bland, and just plain generic offering that was presented here.
Mr. Donovan, do you know this individual?
Sure. Sal Marcano.
Mm-hmm. And how about this man?
That's Sal's worthless piece of shit brother, Lou. Look. Enough of the dog and pony bullshit. What's your real question?
Did you help Lincoln Clay murder Sal Marcano and all prominent members of his crime family?
You're goddamn right I did.
So, I suppose, means I have to talk about this chronic disappointment, we'll do it right. Mafia 3 was released about 2 weeks ago by Hangar 13 on October 6th. Now, I know this review is extremely delayed, but the psychotic pile of work that I've been burdened with left me very little time for anything except sleep, and so I'm forced to come in last in the review race. That said, I did manage to put in enough time for a first impressions video, at least after what I encountered. I felt you guys deserved to be at least a little bit more informed about Mafia 3 in case you haven't bought it yet. And before I get into things, just in case a surprising word or two slips through in some of the clips, I'll read to you guys the disclaimer that was posted at the beginning of the game. Mafia 3 takes place in a fictionalized version of the American South in 1968. We sought to create an authentic and immersive experience that captures this very turbulent time and place, including depictions of racism. We find the racist beliefs, language, and behaviors of some of the characters in the game abhorrent, but believe it is vital to include these depictions in order to tell Lincoln Clay's story. Most importantly, we felt that not include this very real and shameful part of our past would have been offensive to the millions who faced and still face bigotry, discrimination, prejudice, and racism in all its forms. Now, this started me off feeling kind of pumped for the bravery of Hangar 13 in the face of how much criticism they're likely to suffer from that design choice alone. Now, just so we're clear, I'm very much a proponent of not hiding from our history despite how shameful it might be and how I find it, lest we be doomed to repeat it. I am not racist in any way. I've never even leaned that direction. It's just not something I was raised to do. So that being said, the introduction story itself was extremely fascinating to me on top of this semi-bold step that Hangar 13 took. The story was told in a retrospective format where the characters are relating to you the events that you were playing through as they had happened years ago, much like you would expect from a History Channel special or some such.
Lincoln's mother abandoned him in 1947, a couple of years after he was born. His mother, I heard she was Dominican. I always figured his father was white, maybe even Italian. Not that it mattered. Back then, if you look black, you black. Same as today, I suppose. He stayed at the orphanage until 1958.
Well, when did you meet Lincoln Clay?
1966. I was running Black Ops out of Laos on behalf of the CIA. He was loaned out to me via joint CIA-DOD task force.
He was a quiet boy. Good boy.
Now, this was a really great way of relating the story to the player and also giving you a feeling of having the ability to change the narrative based on your actions. Now, I don't think that's entirely the case, but they made it feel that way at least, because I did go through and get a failure state once, and one of the people looked confused, like, what, that didn't happen. That didn't happen like that. That's weird. So, yeah, the introductory part, I would say, was, it had interesting storyline with engaging missions. I would also say immersive, but one thing I noticed in the game was that during that 2-hour-long introductory sequence, the game played like absolute ass. The frame rate was well below 20, and it took an exertion of patience to be able to power through, which I did. Now, I really wanted to see how the story was going to turn out because of how the game was presenting itself there in the beginning.
Yeah. Affirmative action. You know how it is. Old country is spinning around a goddamn toilet. You can follow me. As for you, go on and grab those bags off the truck. You'll be carrying them to the burning room. How much y'all bring in? $238,546. Small bills mostly.
However, I do have to say that, to the game's credit, after the initial 2-hour game sequence, the frame rate issues, oddly, disappeared completely. Well, not completely, but I'd say about a good 90% of it. And this was a repeatable issue that seems limited to that initial segment of the game. However, to be honest, guys, I would have almost preferred the shitty frame rate to the gameplay mechanics that we got after that. So you see, after the initial sequence, the tone and feel of the game completely shifts into what I can only describe as a cheaper clone of the bastardized child of Grand Theft Auto 5 and Mad Maxx.
Here.
Peace, love, bullshit. You ain't welcome here. Get going. Curb stop! Yo, screw! What's left in the bayou? Where's he at? Some bitch is taking us apart. We need help. Gonna be.
Go! We have to get out of here!
Playtime's over! Here I fucking come!
Now, the game sends you on missions to clear out segments of the city by devaluing rival crime bosses, illicit and legitimate businesses until you manage to coax them out of hiding. Then you end up with yet another generic fight sequence, followed by the opportunity to either kill them or force them to work for you, which, again, really doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, how can you trust this guy? You literally destroyed his livelihood and nearly killed him. You really don't think he'll want revenge? I mean, come on, Lincoln. I know you've got to be smarter than that.
What's Fourfinger got going on at the church?
There's all kinds of dope over at the church. If you destroy it, the boss is gonna lose a lot of money.
From now on, my crew is your crew.
And that's basically the whole game, guys, right there, in a nutshell. Oh, you drive around a lot, so there's that, which also, they show off an impressive library of 1960s music that I don't think I can get away with showing too much of here, at least, without getting content ID'd, because we all know what a bitch the music industry is when it comes to their music. To them, there is literally no such thing as fair use. But regardless, the music is diverse, and there is a metric ton of it, but the driving segments are about as interesting, or I should say mind-numbingly boring, as you would think.
Nancy's day. I'll tell you, that coffee sure is fine. On the next episode, you better believe we're gonna talk about this here story that President Johnson is considering a deal with the Russians to scale back our nuclear program. We're going to have that and a lot more right here on Native Son.
And it's really this departure from the look and feel of the beginnings of the game that left a huge sour taste in my mouth, not to mention massive amounts of pop-in, visual bugs and glitches, more than one hard crash, and random frame rate issues that still occasionally occurred even past the initial 2-hour segment. Now, couple that with a story that basically fell flat on its face, we're left with a game that basically, how I feel, pulled a simple bait and switch to get people past the 2-hour return policy on Steam. Because even with the frame rate issues, the first 2 hours was great. It really was. It really pulled me in. And the story was magnificent, and it was really engaging, and I wanted to see what was to happen next.
Oh, I saw Langan a couple times once he was first back. He told me he wanted to leave town, head out to California. Now, he had a friend in the service who could get him a job working at the Mare Island shipyard. And the only reason he came back was to tell Sammy and Ellis goodbye. But then he found out about the trouble Sammy was having with those Haitians. So he decided to stay and help. Those Haitians, they are bad news. No talking Lankin out of it. Whatever else he might have become, Lankin was always loyal.
Now, unfortunately, the rest of it basically means that I'll probably never pick up the game again because of how dull it is. So, unfortunately, Mafia 3 ends up with a very disappointing 5 out of 10. Average. It just had nothing really going for it past that initial segment. Couple that with the initial lock to 30 FPS, frame rate issues, and bland gameplay, I really don't feel that I could recommend this game in its current state. I mean, even once the bugs are fixed, I still feel it would only warrant like a 6 out of 10, and that was disappointing to me in more ways than one. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do remember to like, subscribe, and share. Trust me, those buttons will ultimately be much more satisfying than playing this game. Once again, I'm SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time. Hi there, boys and girls. Thanks for checking my video out. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even that subscribe button. Trust me, it works really good. Don't forget to share with your friends, and if you're interested in following me on Twitter and Facebook, the links for that are in the description down below. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in helping to support the growth of my channel, and the link for that is down below as well. And once again, thanks for watching and supporting my channel, guys. I really appreciate it.